Welcome to the Art and Hustle Podcast, a gallery of conversations, a space where you can hear all the amazing stories and life lessons of my guests. I'm your host, LindaLCheung, fashion designer turned multimedia artist, and I want to give you a space to tell your story. Welcome to the Art and Hustle Podcast, gallery of conversations. We have Captain Schiavo back here today, and we are going to talk a little about a few things, but I want to make sure that everybody's aware to help us and click subscribe because that helps our algorithm and get it out to more people. And so one of the top things actually that I wanted to touch on was the etiquette is one thing I wanted to talk about besides questions, and also the Will Smith situation, because that's a little etiquette there too. And I want to know your thoughts on the Oscars and Will Smith.
Well, that's kind of putting the cart before the horse for me because I think that yes, I do think that whole situation would have been solved with some appreciation of etiquette. But so let me start at the beginning with this
Okay.
thing about etiquette. One of the things that people do not know, I taught etiquette every year,
Mm, yeah,
32 years at the high school level, 32 years.
yeah.
And let me explain to you why people say, "What are you doing teaching etiquette? I thought you're an English teacher, a literature teacher." But what people don't seem to know, or they've forgotten, was that in every grammar book, okay, from well before I started teaching, okay, they always had a unit on etiquette.
Oh.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so, in those days, it was very clear. They would say, okay, these young people, you have to know about these things,
Mm-hmm.
because so many of the families, especially when you consider how many earlier years, how many um, families were immigrants
That is
and
very
didn't know,
true. That's very
yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah, they didn't know what some of the etiquette was in the United
Yes.
States.
Yes.
Certainly, a lot of it before that came from Great Britain because we had a lot of Anglo-Saxons coming in.
Hmm.
But so it was very important. Now, again, etiquette now is a lot less fussy than it used to be,
Yeah.
and so you can be a lot less punctilious about following certain kinds of rules. But let me give you the kinds of things that we as English teachers were supposed to be instructing our students in. For
Hmm.
example, the first easiest one, how to answer a telephone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, you weren't supposed to answer the phone and go, yeah, uh, what's up?
Yeah.
Who the hell are you? I mean, that's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
And then say, and then usually it would be like, well, let's say your son was answering the phone. He'd say, well,
Mm-hmm.
uh, hello, this is the Chung residence. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and who may I ask is calling?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They were supposed to then tell you who their names, and then you say, and of course, may I ask why you're calling, or they would say, well, here I'm Joe Blow. I'm calling. I'd like to speak with
I
your
like how
mother.
you say etiquette. I'm Joe Blow. It,
You know me.
it wouldn't be Schiavo if you're talking about etiquette. You say, "Hi, it's
Hey,
Joe Blow."
you know me, Linda. Okay,
I,
so
I have I have to call you out on it, right? It wouldn't be me if I don't call you out on it.
yeah, so anyway, and then in fact, it was funny grammar wise. I remember years ago, you'd say, well, if they said, well, may I speak with Bill Schiavo, please? You would say, uh, this is what was it? This is I,
Oh,
not
this
this
is
is
I.
me. Yeah, because again, the grammar was used to be very more punctilious. It was
Oh, this is I.
yeah, because you use what they call you use nominative nouns
Mm.
after intransitive verbs,
Mm-hmm.
and then you use I'm sorry, nominative pronouns, and then you use objective pronouns after transitive verbs,
Mm-hmm.
which is now even that grammar. I'm sure you don't remember those grammar rules. Okay,
No, I don't. Not at all.
okay, right. And most people don't now. I mean,
Not at all.
if I said that it is I, they would think that
That's
this
like
guy's an
po-
English
that's
teacher.
like that's like poetry to me.
Yeah. So now, Linda, come on. That tells me you weren't paying attention in my class now. Okay, but
I'm
here's
an
the thing.
artist. I was daydreaming.
Fine. I, I totally get it. I totally understand it. So That was it. But then, so then, of course, that was the basic thing. You were supposed to say, people were supposed to be very careful. You use words like, may
Yeah, like
and
may I
whatever.
speak to so and
Yeah,
so.
all right.
Hmm.
And all the old days teachers will say, the kids will say, "Can I go to the bathroom?" Well,
Hmm.
you probably biologically can go to the bathroom,
Can, but
but
you have to
you're
say
asking my,
may
yeah,
I, right?
but yeah, because you're asking me my permission. So
Yeah,
may was a permissive,
yeah, yeah,
phrasing of the whole thing.
yeah.
So, but we also would teach them, for example, about writing bread and butter notes. Now, writing bread and butter notes, because people say, "What's a bread and butter note?"
Yeah,
Well, there was a slangy term
yeah,
for sending a thank you note when somebody invited
yes,
you to dinner.
yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
say, "Hey,
Hmm.
look, I had a great time. The food was
Yeah,
great. The company was excellent, so forth and so on." So, uh, at any rate, um, it was stuff like that. How to write a sympathy note. It's a,
mm, hmm, hmm.
doing sympathy card. Now, let's face it, that's a very, very, that's a tough one when you're trying to say, well, you got to give you condolences, but you have to do it in a way that,
Yeah,
it's not going to make people feel worse as opposed to,
yeah, yeah. Just Google it. Google a
Right.
Hallmark
Yeah.
card.
And so now the other, but where I started to get involved with teaching etiquette, especially to
Yeah,
seniors, um, any teacher who's taught senior English or senior anything, okay,
yeah,
what generally happens is after, remember, they were getting, like, the junior year kids are really motivated to do their best because they were taking the SATs,
yeah, yeah,
whatever, so and they were trying to keep their averages up because they wanted to get accepted to colleges, right?
yeah,
So, so now the first semester, the first two quarters, seniors would still be pretty motivated,
yeah.
okay? Because they were still waiting to get accepted to colleges. They were sending in their little resumes and whatnot. But then after they got accepted, the second two
It's
quarters,
all over. It's all over, right?
yeah, the second semester, all they want to do is woohoo! I got accepted to my school that I wanted, and now it's party time. All I want to
Yeah,
do is eat, drink, be
yeah.
merry, go to the
I
prom.
want to I want to interject there just
Sure.
because I spoke to Trisha on a podcast and she said that you told her if somebody like followed some of your rules and took wrote an essay, got accepted or something like that,
Right,
they cannot take the final exam and they get an A in the class,
right.
right? So that's what she did. She actually got it and didn't have to take the final exam.
Yes, I mean, look, I used to do I tried to give all kinds of inducements and incentives
Yeah,
to
yeah.
keep the seniors focused. But one of the things that would save my butt as a teacher teaching
Hmm.
seniors, remember, and I'm not talking about really unruly students. I'm talking about like honors level students
Yeah,
and reading
yeah,
level students.
yeah,
But they would start to feel real loosey goosey once really relaxed once they got their acceptance letters, right?
yeah, yeah,
So what I said was, it came to me one day. I'm saying, well, how do I keep these? And of course, also, I always tried to keep my interpretations of literature and discussions of literature, make them relevant
yeah.
to their lives and practical the
Hmm.
best way I could.
Hmm.
And etiquette was really a very practical kind of a topic. Why?
Mm, mhm.
One of the things I started off with was
Yeah.
how to take and do an interview.
Yeah.
Why? Because
Oh, okay.
I was on three different scholarship committees at the school.
Yeah.
There was the principal
Oh,
scholarship,
okay.
the union scholarship,
Yeah.
plus I was the honor society advisor. We gave a scholarship,
Yeah.
and at the end of the year, students would be interviewed by the different organizations giving those scholarships, and they
Yeah.
had to make a decision which student gets our $1,000 or whatever
Okay.
it was, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that means they had to learn how to dress for the interview,
Hmm.
how to prepare for the interview,
Yeah.
what to do and what not to do. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll give you a perfect example. The uh, I would tell students when you go in, and especially when and we did it, by the way, I did it in college, because
Yeah.
we were preparing them as I was preparing teachers, and I said, when you go in for these interviews, okay, there are certain things you have to be careful not to do. So first of all, you need to dress appropriately, and that would be for women. I was a big fan of women going in wearing business suits, okay?
Mhm.
Not, and people say, well, they should be wearing skirts. And I said, well, the reason why they used to want women to wear skirts was because most of the guys, mostly men, doing interviews, and they wanted to see their legs to show you how cynical I am. Okay. And as an old
You need
horn
to
dog,
cut that off completely so the guys are not focusing on legs.
yeah, right?
Just just the
Yeah,
face. Just the
that's it.
face.
That's it.
Just the
So
face.
and as a certified legendary horn dog, was well aware well aware that
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
I was well aware that if the
Hmm.
guys could scope out their legs, they would, because you know
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
In fact, my wife used to work for a doctor, and he would
yeah,
always tell her, if you're going to hire new staff for me, because
yeah,
who work the front office,
yeah.
I want them to be A, female, and B, I
Hmm.
want them to be attractive females. Now,
Hmm.
quite frankly, that's very discriminatory. I'm not, that's, but you know what? He was the boss. He got away with it.
Yeah,
Okay, and guess what?
yeah.
I think I told you about once about there was all kinds of lib, women's lib and
Hmm.
animal lib and this lib,
Yeah.
but there's no such thing as ugly lib, because you're gonna tell me you're gonna march in the street with a placard over your head saying I'm ugly, that's why I can't get a job, or I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
they're not gonna do that. Most people
No.
would. So anyway, so finally, what happens, of course, is so I was okay. So now you're gonna for the guy, then guys, you're gonna wear a nice conservative looking jacket and with
Yeah,
a nice sincere looking tie.
yeah.
Nothing too bold, nothing too. You want to go in and you want to be
A
looking very,
conservative tie.
yeah, right, and jacket and other,
Yeah.
like, so for example, I wouldn't go into an interview wearing one of my Aloha shirts, okay? Unless
Really?
unless
You
I was
wouldn't?
yeah,
Not.
unless I was interviewing for a surf shop,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
or something like that.
That's true.
So and then I would say, look, the first thing when you walk in, you don't sit down until you are asked to sit down.
Oh, okay.
Don't. In other words, you're going into a territorial space,
Yeah,
an employer's space, and
yeah.
they're the ones who are going to say, okay, if this person sits down
Hmm.
without my saying, "Oh, hey, kindly sit down," they're going to, okay, this is not that's not really very good etiquette at all.
Feel like
It's not.
that's rude.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
in fact, it was funny. I was well aware of it. My first interview ever for a teaching job
Yeah.
was it was at the Diocese of Rockville Center,
Hmm.
and there was this I have to say, this nun who was the boss.
Yeah.
Okay, and she was the I'm sorry, she was the archetype, the typical old elderly nun,
Hmm.
uh, wizened of face, you know,
Within the
with,
face.
yeah, bespectacle, little gold rimmed glasses.
Yeah.
And here's what I noticed. I walked in,
Hmm.
and she had her head down, apparently looking like she was reading some papers.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew that even though she was looking down, apparently, she
She's
was
waiting for
eyeballing.
you. Yeah, she's.
No, I don't know how she did it, but I knew she had done it. She looked at me from stem to stern.
Wow.
Okay? So now, and of course, so what I know, and I knew my etiquette, okay, and I knew not to sit down.
Yeah,
I was standing behind the chair,
yeah.
and I waited for her to tell me, "Oh, you may sit now." Okay,
Hmm.
and that's what I did.
Yeah.
So then, of course, she's giving me the third degree about my background and bip, 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 and boop, 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 and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But I knew, but again, I didn't speak until I was spoken to, and I knew going in I wasn't going to get this job. Okay,
Ah, okay.
well, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Uh, there was a new school opening up in the diocese. It was out in where I live. It was where I lived. It was Half Hollow Hills,
Hmm.
and they had. I'm trying to think. What school it was that they had it there? But anyway, and it was actually starting out. It was they didn't have all 4 years in yet. In other words, I think they were starting with the ninth grade, and then the next year they would go to the 10th grade and so on.
Yeah.
But I knew, just I had that inkling that, given who I perceived her to be
Yeah.
and what I thought she perceived me to be, it wasn't going to really be a good fit.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I came in wanting to work at a certain building, and that's not
Mm.
how it's supposed to work. It's going to be,
Yeah.
you're coming in asking for a teaching job. We'll
Yeah.
put you any damn place we want, which I understand. And
But you
I,
you told her you wanted a
I,
certain.
I said, I really prefer if I could go to, I was very, very, thought,
Mhm.
diplomatic in the sense that, look,
Yeah.
I would prefer, I use the word,
Yeah.
I would prefer to go to that particular school
Yeah.
only because I grew up in the district, in the area, and I live close by. That
Okay.
was, all right.
Yeah.
But so now she goes, well, we could consider you, and this is the key. This is the key why I knew I wasn't going to get the job. It says to me,
Uh-oh.
however, you realize that we'd have to put you into an all boys school. In other
Uh-oh.
words, there was no way she was going to put me in a co-ed high school.
Uh-oh.
In other words, as far as she was concerned, it was like putting this big giant fox in with a big bunch of chickens. Okay? She said, I guess she said to me, he's too young
Yeah.
looking, and two, I have
All
to
the
say,
girls are gonna want you.
that's
You're
exactly
gonna
what, thank you.
you're gonna cause some
Thank you.
problems. The girl.
Absolutely. There was no way she was going to put me into a
Yeah.
co-ed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was okay because here's how I looked at that interview.
Yeah.
That was my rehearsal interview. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
And speaking to that at the college, at the university, we would have these mock interview uh, sessions for our students, and there'd be a
Yeah.
panel with one of my colleagues would be an English teacher, one would be an English chairperson, another one would be the principal. Okay,
Hmm.
and we would ask questions appropriate to those administrative offices, right?
Yeah.
And we had students come back after they got real jobs and got on interviews that said your interviews here at the university were far more difficult and challenging for us to answer than the ones we had at the schools that hired us. And
Yeah.
I would say to them, well, that's the point. That's
Yeah.
the point. We're
Yeah.
asking you stuff. We're asking you stuff that, we're going to put you through your paces. We've been instructing you for a semester or two, because I taught English methods. I also taught a student teaching seminar where I observed them in their placements. I said, hey, we're trying to make sure that, you're ready to go. And they were.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
also made sure, I'd say, look, when you go in, you wait till you're seated. Make sure you bring in a folder with a copy of your resume.
Yeah.
They're going to have it, but
Yeah.
you want to have it in case somebody there got in late or, oh, I didn't bring my
Yeah.
paperwork.
Yeah. Because
I don't
sometimes
know.
they forget to print it.
Yeah, but also I said you want to do that so you can hold that folder in your hands on your lap,
Hmm.
and it'll help to dispel or control your nerves.
Like you.
That's right. That's right. That one interview I did with you, my hands were all over the place. Okay, you know.
Yep.
But I'll tell you why though, and you said it though. That was the one on book banning and
Yeah.
censorship.
And you were like excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was passionate about the
Yeah.
topic,
Yeah.
and
Like,
I was just all over the place, right?
yeah.
And now, of course, notice how much more calmer I look.
Well, now it's the funny thing is that as we do these podcasts, I mean, like I've changed things. I realized like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. I changed, you figure it out as you go along and it's okay. You
Yeah,
just
yeah,
learn as you go.
yeah. So anyway, what I would start with the interview etiquette, okay,
Yeah.
and I did it with the high school students, getting them prepared to go to the scholarship
Yeah. Yeah.
panels that they had to go to in our school. Okay.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then at the university, we did it. They had them to prepare to go to interviews for their jobs.
Yeah.
So, of course, that was eminently practical. All right.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that good teachers do is to try to make their topics relevant to the students' lives in any which way they can, no matter what the
Yeah.
topic is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then what happened would be was that, of course, uh, lots of times people varied and whatever, but since they say, well, should I write a letter thanking them for the interview? Well, I guess you could do that.
Yeah.
But the only problem I had with that is, oh, and by the way, one of the things I would always say to them, I had one girl call me up and she said, well, I didn't get the job. Could I really want to call them and find out why not. I said, first, I said, well, no, 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 no.
Oh, no, no,
First
you
of all,
can't do that.
no, first of all, what makes you think that they would tell you the truth, number one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because a lot of the reasons why they don't want to hire you, they probably could be up on charges. They probably, there's all kinds of things. Look,
It could be
now
like race, you're a woman,
sure, sure.
or like
Well,
it's affirmative action. We need a certain race,
yeah,
like
well, that's okay. I mean, I think now they can't ask your. I don't know if they can ask you your age. They can't ask women
well,
if
one of my
okay,
girlfriends, like we knew that like she was told like they needed to find like basically a person of color for the
yes,
role. And
right,
so I think it took them a really long time to hire her because they needed like a person of color.
right,
And so
right,
I told her to tell them, I was like, tell them you're like a mix of everything. You're Native American, so that's like trumps everybody, I feel like.
right.
So I was like, you need to tell them that you're Native American, so that way you get the job because that was it.
Well, Yeah, it's funny. I mean, people have mixed feelings. Oh, well, like look what they went through with this recent Judge Jackson, about, well, she's the first black woman and so forth and so on. But I have to say, in a country that has been ruled by white rich people for centuries,
Yeah.
yeah, we have a much more diverse country now. And let's face it, we need to have people in positions of authority who are also culturally diverse. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
speaking as a privileged white guy, okay?
I
No,
love that I mean, like, that's what I appreciate about these talks, because you're talking from a privileged white guy stance, right?
I mean, absolutely. I'm a privileged white guy. Come on, are you kidding me? I've said it to a number of different. My life has been very easy. I didn't grow up poor. I didn't
Hmm.
grow up rich. Okay. I
Yep.
didn't grow up poor.
Yeah.
I'm very well I went to an excellent high school, public high school.
Yeah.
Got a great
You
education.
enjoyed surfing. You had a horse.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
those are
I
like
mean, yeah.
expensive hobbies right there.
I have never starved. I have never gone without a meal. I probably
Yeah.
should. I could lose a few pounds. I mean, but the fact of the
We,
matter
we,
is,
we need to keep you healthy so we can see 169 of these Hawaiian shirts.
that's
Okay.
right. And by the way, this is one of my all-time favorites too, by the
We
way.
might have
This
to do like two podcasts today, so we can do two a day. Get two shirts.
Yeah,
We gotta
right.
get two shirts a day.
Anyway, so the whole point, so that was the first um uh in my unit on etiquette, that was my first chapter, was
Yeah.
always uh
Interview.
interviews, right?
Yeah.
So now what I went next in high school was what was the next big thing
Yeah.
uh after the because the interview processes for scholarships came before the prom usually.
Oh, okay.
Now I said, okay, now you're gonna go to this prom,
Uh-oh.
and I remember. In fact, I used to go crazy because I listened to the girls in my classes, and they talk about this prom months ahead of time.
Yeah.
I said, ladies, I wouldn't do this if I were you.
Yeah.
They go, why? I said, because you've been building this up in your heads and your
Yeah.
mind, this
Yeah.
whole fantasy of what it's going to be like and what it should be like, and
Yeah.
then when you go, it's going to seem pale by comparison to what you were talking about
Well,
for months.
it's also the same thing as like getting married. You build it up in your head, right? It's
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, right. So anyway, but of course now my thing was okay. You're going to be going to usually to a kind of a nice place, and they're going to
Mhm.
have kind of a it's like a ball type atmosphere,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're going to have a nice table settings.
Yeah.
And now I said, folks, and especially you guys, you're
Hmm.
going to want to know which utensils on the
Yeah.
table
Which
you use
which
when.
fork? Which one do you start with,
Thank
right?
you, thank you. Now, in high-end elite cultures like in Great Britain with all the rich, the nobles and stuff, they
Yeah.
would go to these dinners, okay? And they would have an array of utensils on each
Yeah.
side of
And
the plate.
different sizes, right?
Different sizes, different shapes. They would have like these little two-pronged fish forks and
Hmm.
dessert forks, and then they'd have all the different kinds of
Something for some
spoons.
escargot, maybe.
Yeah, and exactly. And I said, well, basically, so for example, even when I used to, I would tell them, okay, now when you set a table, even at home, the forks go on the left side of the plate, and the knives and spoons go to the right side of the plate, and your bread plate, because I could go this all the time when we go out with people, they have the little bread plates.
Yeah.
Well, which side does the bread plate go on? Is that my bread plate or yours? Well, it's real simple. The bread plate goes on the left,
The
okay?
left
The
with the
left
fork.
side.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then, and also what the glasses are for. So, for example, not so much at the prom because they don't serve liquor, but you have a certain shaped glass, biggish for water,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have a different glass for red wine and a different glass for uh, white wine.
Yeah.
Champagne. That champagne glasses are interesting because now they use what they call flutes.
Yeah.
They're long and narrow, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And but uh, they used to use champagne glasses that were kind of cupped, like
Oh yeah, we used to have those at my parents' restaurant. There were round cup ones.
yes, and you know why?
Why?
They were based upon the shape now of uh, what was her name? Oh God, Marie. The myth was that they were the same shape as the breasts of Marie Antoinette in France. How about that one for
That's the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, it's like a cup breast size or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
and that now that's a factoid. I have now, whether it's myth or not, I cannot speak to
It's
that.
probably true.
It's probably true, and I think
Probably true.
I would hope it'd be true. And in that case, I'd hope for a larger glass, actually.
Yeah, they're way too small. They're like
Yeah, yeah, I want a
it's
bigger
like the
glass of
size of
whole.
your palm of your hand. I remember those cups.
I want like at least a D cup, cup size, so I can have more champagne in my glass.
That's like a giant one. That's a giant one.
That's why I said D cup.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on,
yeah.
ain't no flies on Captain Willie. You know what I mean? How about that? So now, so now, so I talk about, and for example, now that's another thing. Uh, I would explain to them why the red wine glass was like a globe,
Yeah.
and the white wine glass was little narrower, and so on. And it said because among enophiles, I mean, people who are really wine lovers,
Yeah.
the idea was that the bowl shape, okay, the globe shape, puts the wine farther back on your tongue for those particular set of taste buds.
Hmm.
And then the white wine glass is, a little closer. Maybe I'm back. It's funny. It's such a long time I talked about it, but I think basically it's either that or the reverse. But anyway,
Oh, okay.
it puts the wine in a certain place in your tongue, on your
Okay.
tongue, so
Okay.
that you'll taste the properties of that wine, uh,
Hmm.
more specifically. All right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So I would do all that, and uh, and one of the I had a question. I had a 50-question test on etiquette,
Yeah.
and I should have pulled it out for this.
Oh my God, yeah, that would be awesome. We need that 50-question test.
Yeah, really. What I also did was to make sure that my test had whenever I did any test.
Mhm.
Let's say I had four on a multiple choice test. I had four choices, right?
Yeah.
So one would be the right answer, and
Yeah.
then maybe two would be kind of, ambiguous, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the fourth one was supposed to make the students laugh when they saw it. So if you were a proctor in one of my
Yeah.
exams, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
you would hear every once in a while a kid start to
People would laugh.
they would laugh.
Yeah.
Now you have to understand this
Yeah.
is not done in universities or not done in most classes because they're saying, well,
No,
take
not at all. This is
yeah,
only done in Captain Schiavo's class.
absolutely. Because test taking is supposed to be real serious business,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which it is, okay? But it always be, I'll give you one of my favorite questions.
Yeah.
I used to say to the guys and girls in my class, like usually they had in a lot of these fancy places they had the prom, they'd have
Yeah.
to walk up like a spiral staircase, for example.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, so now here's the thing, guys, when you're
Hmm.
escorting your date up the staircase.
Yeah.
You probably won't go arm in arm. What you should be doing is you should be walking behind them,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
when you go up,
Hmm.
and then when it's all over and go back down the stairs, you should be walking in front of them,
So they don't
okay?
fall when they go
That's
down
right.
the
So this
stairs.
way, if they fall
Yeah.
backwards going up, you're there to
To catch
cushion them,
them. Yeah.
right? And of course, in the reverse, going
Yeah.
down, they can fall on you and they won't hurt themselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the test, I would say, okay, so I have the question when a couple is going up a staircase,
Yeah.
going up the staircase, the the guy should be uh, behind her or in front of her, whatever, and then
Hmm.
one of the choices was he he's there to protect her. The right one was like protect her if she falls,
Yeah.
but then maybe choice D would be he was walking behind her, going up the stairs so he can ogle her butt.
What?
Okay.
I literally had that in my brain.
Yeah. Now, of
It
course, so
literally
when
was like, well, one of them would be like just to look at her ass, right? Yeah.
right. So of course, when they would get to an answer like that, they'd start to
Yeah.
laugh. They were
Yeah.
supposed
Yeah.
to
Because
laugh.
you're not expecting that in a serious test.
Exactly. And by the way, but I did that in all my, even in my literature tests, I would do that.
Hmm.
But now here's the other part of it.
Yeah.
What was what was not funny for them ultimately,
Yeah.
and also was not funny for me was because I thought, oh, this test is going to be easy, for them.
Hmm.
They fail at the failure rate on the test was pretty high.
Why?
Okay, so they were laughing, but they were failing, right? Because but I did, for example, go, but it was really the right thing to do. So but I remember once too. I was an assistant principal came in to observe me,
Yeah.
uh,
Uh-oh.
and because I always they said, like, it's funny. In the old days, they could come in anytime they wanted to.
Hmm.
Okay, and the union got involved and said, "Hey, look, come on, buh, 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 you got to
Oh, we
give."
need warning.
Yeah. So I would always say to them, because I didn't, I said, look, you guys can come in anytime you, I don't
Yeah.
care. I
Yeah.
don't care. You just whatever you fit me in, you fit me in. Because I'm not, look, I'm not doing a
Yeah. I'm
pole
not
dance.
hiding anything.
Yeah, I'm not doing a pole dance on my desk and stripping. Yeah, forget that. I'm not doing it.
You're just
So
trying to run through walls. That's it.
well, that's it. That's all. You saw
Trying to
that. You
run
saw that
through.
piece of tape.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just trying to run through walls.
Yeah, really. That's, what's the harm in that?
Yeah.
So works out that so he comes in and it's the day I'm making believe I have a little table desk set up like a dining table in a
Oh, for etiquette.
in a fancy restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I played the maitre d' when they first come in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm role playing, and then they come in and I'm escorting them to the table.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm putting the seat behind the young lady
Yeah. Yeah.
and whatever. And and then of course, I used to tell them how much to pay at the hat for the coat check and hat check and stuff. But then of course, so I
You
said,
teach
okay,
them that they need to learn how to tip.
well, yes, I used to teach them about that. But here's so, but when I went through the whole thing of
Mhm.
I role played a whole dinner for a young couple. So
Yeah.
now they're sitting at the table, and of course I've got the table set with plastic, stuff, utensils
Yeah.
and paper plates and whatnot. But I also did the wine service. You see, even though I said, look, you guys are too young to be able to order the wine, but
Yeah.
I'd like you to know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I come out with, I had my little white towel over my arm,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I present the bottle to them, and
Yeah.
I said, guys,
A
you look at the
bottle of water.
yeah, make sure that it's the bottle that you ordered, the right
Yeah.
date and the
Yeah.
right kind.
Hmm.
And then I would say then I have like a cork in the bottle. I already like was already uncorked and the bottle was empty. Okay,
Yeah.
I said, but when you get when the sommelier, okay, the wine guy, okay,
Yeah.
uh, uncorks it, what you do is very surreptitiously almost. You get the cork, you grab the cork. He's going to put it on the table. You
Yeah.
grab that cork and
Smell it.
you no, you
Oh.
touch it first. You touch
Oh.
it first
Yeah.
and see that the part that was in the bottle is moist.
Oh.
Okay,
Okay.
that means that the
I never
cork.
knew that.
Yeah, see that? Stick with Captain Willie, you'll be farting
I
through
I,
silk.
I know. I'm learning something new today.
See that? I always try. I always try to,
I know. I love learning new things.
All right. So anyway, so you'd feel it to make sure it was moist. That meant that it was going to not be corked, and the wine would probably not be sour. And so that was the first uh, clue that the wine that you ordered was going to be okay.
So if it's dry, it would be possibly sour.
Well, yeah, because it means that it wasn't usually bottles of wine with corks in them. They store them on their side so the corks stay moist, and
Okay.
that means the cork stays enlarged, and that means
Yeah.
oxygen can't get
Seal,
into the
the
wine.
seal is good. Okay. Ah,
Yeah,
got it.
because yeah,
Got
yeah,
it.
because
The
you don't
seal.
want oxygen going into that wine. That's what's going to
Yeah.
make the wine turn. Okay.
Got it.
Conversely, when you open it up,
Mm-hmm.
eventually, really you should let it sit for a little bit and they'll say, well, let the wine breathe.
Yeah.
Right? Because now it needs oxygen to kind of get its
Now,
aromas.
how long do you think it needs to air out?
Depends. People will say it depends on the wine. Now anywhere from a half an hour to an hour. But now, really, when you go to a restaurant, that's not going to happen.
No, you
Sitting,
have like 2 seconds.
yeah. But what they'll do is no. But what they'll do is they'll pour. What they should be doing is they're going to pour it.
Yeah.
And it's going to let's say you'll have I don't know. You'll pour it. Uh, it might take 10 to 15 minutes before your food comes out and it'll be get some air because
Oh, okay. Yeah.
we were out last night
Yeah.
and we had our cocktails, okay,
Mhm.
and what will happen is they could we didn't have wine last night, we
Yeah.
have so much wine in the house we didn't do it, but if we had ordered wine we'd be
Yeah.
sipping our cocktails and
Oh, letting it
probably
air out.
yeah, probably before the entree would
Yeah.
come out. Maybe they would. I know at this restaurant they would say, "Here's your wine. We'll
Yeah.
pour it,"
Yeah.
and so you'd have 5 or 10 minutes before they come out with your entree.
Yeah.
But my point was that I went through this whole big thing. Okay, the principal, this assistant principal, uh, he he gave me what I expected. my usual rave observation, in writing. But it was so funny because at the end of the school year,
Yeah.
I guess about a month or so later, we had our big faculty end of the school year, party.
Yeah.
So he introduces me to his wife, and he says to her, "This is the teacher who did uh, the restaurant wine service lesson." She goes, "Oh, because he obviously told her about it,
Yeah.
and
He
I think
probably learned something too, just like I am.
yeah, yeah, and of course you have to remember in a multicultural environment. In fact,
Yeah.
he was a African American,
Yeah.
but African American environment. A lot of students don't get this. I'll
No,
tell
not
you,
at all. So wait a minute. Did the other teachers do this?
of course not. What are you kidding? Come on, what's
I
my
just
name?
want to confirm for the listeners that you are
I don't.
something.
Well,
I just want to confirm and let the people know that you are something
th-
special. That you're
no,
teaching
well,
them.
no, no, no. I'll tell you what. Look, they might have done something with interviews because I made used to make an issue of it.
Yeah.
Certainly at the university, we all talked about interviews. That's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
We were training future
Yeah.
teachers in English.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the high school, I made it plain in the department that look, those of us who teach seniors should be kind of
Yeah.
cueing them in about what they should be, they
Yeah.
should handle their
And
interviews.
I really want to say,
But
like, I
wait,
appreciate.
but
Okay.
they did not do the restaurant stuff that I
Yeah.
did,
Of course not. Yeah.
the
Of course not.
pre-prompt stuff. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's a Schiavo special right there. I just want to say that I appreciate you doing those etiquette things because being from an immigrant family, um, they people who are coming here from another country don't know those etiquettes. And I saw that more so later on when more people were coming into the country, like more Fuzhou people, more people from China. And
Right,
honestly, I can tell who are the ones that are acting a little more I don't know how should you say crass, not
right, okay.
civilized, not
Right,
like,
yeah, yeah,
how
yeah.
you should be acting here in
Sure.
America. And I always know who those people are. And unfortunately, a lot of those were Fuzhou people.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, most people can't tell what language they're speaking, but obviously I know. And I always know which ones are the one who are actually not knowing all those etiquettes because they don't know. Either, they're in the subway, New York subway spitting, or
Sure.
they're not saying, excuse me, not saying, not getting out of the way. Because in China, they just act whatever way they act. There's no politeness in China. They don't say, excuse me to go anywhere. They just do whatever they want to do.
Well,
So that's
but
something
I'll
that
tell you,
people need to learn.
I didn't recognize much of that when we were in mainland China. We were all over mainland China, from
Yeah.
Beijing up north all the
Yeah.
way
What
down to
year?
Shanghai.
What year was that?
2007. Okay.
2007. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
went
remember
when I
that.
was a kid, like,
Right.
but even
Yep.
even immigrants coming here and you see them in Chinatown,
Right.
you'll see them acting that way
Now,
or on the subway.
now we've been all over Asia. So, for example, all like Southeast Asia, all over the place, and then our last trip to in Asia was to Japan. And it's
Yeah.
funny now, the Japanese are extremely punctilious and
Etiquette.
if it's yeah.
Right.
They have things about food that it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
How they produce the food, how they present the food, and there's
But then that's funny because you have that huge extreme of politeness and etiquette, but then you have the contrary thing where you have guys groping women like on the subway,
well, that's different.
right?
But in restaurants, I'll tell you one of the things too when you like the Japanese, what's really cool in some ways,
Yeah.
because you know how I feel about
I
religion.
haven't been to Japan. I really want to go. That's like
Oh,
on my bucket list.
Japan is one of the cleanest,
Hmm.
safest, politest cultures you will ever go to. For
Yeah, I
example,
really want to go. I love the food. I
my
love the
running joke.
culture.
Yeah, my running joke when we came back from Japan, I tell people, yeah, after being in Japan for 3 weeks, it
Yeah.
took me at least 2 weeks to stop bowing to everybody I talked to. Here in the States, I kept bowing.
Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah." I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean,
Oh, thank you.
here's a tradition
Yeah.
that we talk about food, all right? So we're
Yeah.
talking. So if they're in a restaurant or it's
Hmm.
people's homes, before they eat, like Americans will say, like the Christian folk will say they'll want to say grace.
Yeah.
Here's what they do. I'll show you. All right, so now I'm at my plate, and what they'll do is they put their hands together like this, and they
Yeah.
go, "Itadakimasu." Okay,
Hmm.
itadakimasu, and that means it doesn't mean what I love about it, it's not religious. It's saying itakemas means um, we are thanking the person who has created this meal for us.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like so. It's not like strictly religious.
Yeah. It's not
It's
like
a
thanking God for this food that's on my plate.
yeah. You're thanking whoever was involved in getting this food to
Yeah.
your table, to your plate.
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
be the chef, could be the farmer that grew the vegetable. It could be, but
Mm.
it's a sense of, hey,
Yeah.
this is with that. It's thankful. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of
Yeah.
course, it was funny because in Japan, we went into a place, uh, we went to a place for lunch,
Hmm.
and we were the only
White
non-Japanese people. We were the only white people. Yeah,
white
okay,
people.
yeah, only white people. There were four of us, and we're ordering stuff, and of course, the we're basically pointing to on the menu,
Yeah.
and because I think only one waiter or waitress spoke any kind of English at all. And
Yeah.
this was like it was a local lunch hangout, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we loved it. I mean, that's what we were looking for. We
Yeah.
didn't want to we didn't want to go to McDonald's in Japan,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So, but it was just so funny because they were watching us, and we knew certain things to do, like
Yeah.
the soju and things like that. But they were laughing hysterically because, like, for example, we ordered beer. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they come out with these like 45-ounce beers that were huge. Okay.
What do you call those 40 or something like
Yeah,
those big
right.
bottles, those big bottles,
Exactly.
right? Hmm.
And I thought they were going to come out with, it's like a regular, like 12
Like a
ounce
small
bottle.
little, like, sake bottle or something.
But we had the best time. But I have to tell you that certain cultures, and it's true, like, see, the etiquette that I've been talking about with you is really what I know from being in the United States. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you go to other cultures, this is one of the things that people don't do. So I used to call them the ugly Americans. Is that they don't go in, they expect everybody to speak English, which no,
Yeah.
that's baloney.
Yeah.
They also don't know what the cultural traditions are necessarily, and
Yeah.
certainly what the etiquette would be, even at a restaurant.
And you
Okay,
have to be respectful, and that's out of
yeah,
respect too. Like, so
and
etiquette
this
is
okay,
respecting other cultures.
and this is what brings us to the key about etiquette.
Yeah.
Uh, it's supposed to be respectful of everyone involved. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you go in with a date, for example, or I was with my wife, okay. So, you know, what do? You know, s- I seat her, slip her chair under her, right? I'm taking care of certain kinds of things. Um, uh, and the idea is to be respectful of your dinner companion or
Mm.
companions,
Yeah.
okay? Uh, you don't want to be loud in a restaurant. Like the restaurant was also a very sophisticated country French restaurant. We've been going to it for oh, 30 years
So
So
this was the one in town.
it's one no, it's out in I guess it's Blue Point. It's Le Soir in Blue Point.
Oh, it sounds so fancy.
Well, but you know what's so interesting? It's not what they call haute cuisine in French. Haute
Mm-hmm.
cuisine is really super elegant,
Yeah.
super fussy. It's toothpick food. I mean, no pincer.
Yeah.
Not toothpick food. Pincers. Whatever. I can't
Yeah.
forget. But
But
like,
this is more of a rustic French.
yeah, this is what they call country French. And country French,
Oh, okay. I love country French.
this is more like
Yeah.
what they would call bon femme cooking. It was like mama makes. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like home cooking.
However, it's still,
Mm.
but it's supposed to be more rustic. But let me tell you something.
Yeah.
It's very
Yes. Yeah, I love French food. I mean, like I love all types of food.
sure,
So
sure. But I mean, like for example, my one of my favorite appetizers was frog's legs. Okay,
hmm.
and
Hmm.
they don't have them all the time,
Yeah.
and they were spectacular. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, so I mean stuff like that. But I mean, I think, but going back to what I was going to say about etiquette in terms of it's really supposed to be consideration of other people when you
Yeah.
are with them.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's something that we all need to get a hold of. We all need to kind of remind ourselves that when we're in public, there
Yeah.
are other people that we're supposed to consider the fact that they're there
Hmm.
and to be treated with respect
Yeah.
and appreciation. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
bottom line.
Yeah.
Uh, so you were mentioning Will Smith,
Yeah.
okay?
So we gotta go full circle to Will Smith, and obviously, violence is not the key.
That's right. There are
right?
many other ways that could have been handled.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And I've read a bunch of other ways that people have suggested he could have and should have handled it.
yeah.
But part of the problem here is, um, to be, I'm trying to be fair, but uh, when you have children who are
Mhm.
undisciplined, okay, and made to feel a little too special and a little, they're not going to be necessarily willing to be polite and and observe some of the
Etiquette
things
or
of etiquette. Yeah,
respect. Hmm.
and so they become spoiled. And I think
Yeah,
that was a problem for Will Smith, is that because he's been a, a big money maker for in Hollywood,
yeah.
he's been given a lot of freedom to be who he wanted to be and do what he wanted to do,
Hmm.
and has not been in some ways constrained. Okay, and
Hmm.
he's like a big spoiled kid to a certain degree.
Hmm.
And so, and the fact that, one of the first things you want to teach kids is to not lay hands on another kid
Yeah,
hostile. You don't want them to be a bully.
yeah,
There are ways to handle things that you don't have to be violent. Okay.
yeah. Hmm.
And look, I've been a pacifist. I spent so much of my time in school. I cannot tell you how many brawls I was involved in trying to break up. I was in brawls my first year of teaching. We had
Oh.
race riots. We had
Yeah,
brawls.
yeah. Like, didn't you get really hurt? Like,
Yeah, well, yeah, and then
really
of
hurt,
course
right?
I retired at 55, and I was still at 55
Stopping
doing,
fights.
yeah, or trying to, because the notion was, the sooner you could try to stop it, then
Yeah,
then that would mean that it would not expand into a full scale riot, full
yeah,
scale brawl. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
and so many of my colleagues, I have to say, there were certain colleagues I counted on who
Hmm.
were like-minded, and we would always be the first ones. If we were close, we were the first ones in trying to break people apart. And I think that that's something which, and again, we spend a lot of time talking to the people, the kids involved after, about, hey, this is not the way to handle your conflicts.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And again, that's part of educating kids. Say
yeah,
this, and there's a way to deal with other people, the way
yeah.
to deal with,
Yeah, there's a way to handle the situation. And I just want to touch upon my point of view about the Will Smith
Sure.
situation. Obviously, I don't condone violence
Right.
because you never know what state someone's in. And coming from my background, I would never want to do that because I've already seen people who are super violent. So I would
Right.
never
Sure.
go there because I know.
Sure.
But I've been watching a lot of Will Smith's documentaries of him writing his book,
Uh-huh.
and also his documentary about him. He was trying to lose 30 pounds in 30 days, and he tried to document that. But he tried to do that while he was writing his book. So
Right.
now he's unpacking his entire life.
Right.
He's
Right.
unpacking his father, he's unpacking his mother,
Sure.
his wife, his
Right.
kids. Now he's got to deal with his feelings.
Sure.
And coming from his type of family and father, his father was very like militant, follow these rules,
Right.
otherwise you'll get in trouble. So I can relate to how he grew up, where the father is super militant, follow
Uh-huh.
these rules. So when you come from that type of environment, you kind of have to put on a face, and you have to kind of change your entire personality when you come out into the world. So for Will Smith, I feel like that's just my my point of view, that I feel like he created this Will Smith character
Right.
who had to succeed and had to check off all of those boxes to
Right.
succeed. And that's kind of how I lived my life too. And so being someone who's like, when I spoke with like Susie, being someone who's like super nice, trying to succeed and checking off the boxes, maybe not for her, but for me, I had to check off those boxes. Eventually you're going to hit that wall where, you're not authentically yourself, and you keep trying to be this person, and you kind of get sick of it, and you're like, you
Yeah.
know what, I'm sick of people walking all over me, I'm sick of being nice. And so I feel like he got triggered from a past trauma,
Right.
and that was it, he just flipped. And so that's, unfortunately, I think that what's happened is he just flipped out. He's like, you know what, I'm tired of people walking all over me doing this. But obviously he should have taken it on the
Yeah.
side and not do it on live TV.
That's one of the basic tenets, though, of etiquette, is you need to control
Yeah,
your behaviors and your emotions when
yeah,
you're in
Yeah.
public and dealing with
Yeah.
other
But
people.
he obviously has
I
come
mean, whether you
undone.
like it or not, but whether you like it or not, now
Yeah.
there's no question that every once in a while people snap. They do, they snap, you
Yeah.
know. And it's ugly to see, and especially with millions of people watching,
Yeah, unfortunately, it happened on TV, live TV. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
because no one, he was the typical nice black guy,
yeah,
unfortunately, and no one
yeah,
expected him to do that. So there should be a person pressing that button to black it out. And obviously, they didn't realize that he would ever do that. So no
sure,
one pressed
yeah,
that button to
absolutely,
stop it,
yeah.
right?
It was just really unfortunate, pathetic, um, situation kind of thing. But
Yeah.
it's funny. One of the reasons why I had thought about talking about etiquette was I got a call from a former university student of mine teaching,
Hmm.
and she's absolutely one of my all-time favorites. She's spectacular. She's
Yeah.
gorgeous inside and out. She's a great human being.
And she's a
Speaks
teacher.
yeah, well, she's teaching English,
Yeah.
and she was out for 2 years on maternity leave. She just had a
Yeah.
baby, girl,
Yeah.
beautiful little girl.
Yeah.
And so she called. She kind of said, "Look, I'd like to talk to you." I said, "Okay, what's up?" She goes, "Well, um, these students have had substitute teachers for the 2 years I've been out,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I know that, and I used to teach this, I used to do it all the time. Teachers should be outside in the hallways in front of their classrooms to, on one hand, ostensibly greet their students coming in. Hey, good morning. How you doing? But
Yeah.
you are supposed to be out there monitoring the hallways
Yeah.
to make sure that kids are not going to fight.
Yeah.
They're not canoodling. That they're not sexually groping each other. They're not having drug deals 5 feet away from your door. You're there to be a
Yeah.
monitor. Now,
Yeah.
and I remember at Central ISIP, I have to say, whether the administrators who are very clear, hey,
Yeah.
you need to be in front of your
Outside. Yeah.
outside in the hallway.
Mhm.
So, and like so I said, okay, that's great because for me, I could greet my students going in and I could say goodbye going out.
Yeah.
And I was like a good, Baptist preacher, and
Mhm.
glad handing everybody as they come in,
Yeah.
and I go out.
Did they do that in the schools when you were growing up? Stand
Well,
outside?
here's the problem, and this was the problem that she faced.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Central Iceland,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and when I was in high school, they did that. I mean, everybody, because we didn't have all that. It was a junior senior high school, and I
Yeah.
think if we had 500 students in the whole building, it was a lot. And every teacher knew every kid,
Oh,
whether or not you were taking their classes, they knew who you were.
yeah, yeah.
So if they saw me trying to cut class to go, snuggle up and cuddle up with Betty Lou,
Oh, so they'll be
okay,
like,
they go, Billy, aren't you supposed to be in math class now?
see, that's
And
good. Accountable.
yeah,
Be
yeah. I mean,
accountable for your actions.
yeah, they do. They know us all. Okay. Now,
Oh, I
at
see.
Central ISIP, the administrators were very, very on it about, hey, we have kids who will fight and the drop of the hat and things like that. We need to make sure because again, we had hall monitors. They had even had off-duty police as monitors.
Really?
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. They were some of them were off-duty police. They were kind of
Did they
moonlighting.
have it in our years? My sister
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
Anya?
yeah, yeah. They had
Really?
them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, see, that was what the whole point. The point is they weren't in uniform. They were wearing plain
I
clothes.
never knew there was like undercover people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Really?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Really?
So now she's in a
Did they
school.
pretend to be like students or just
No, no,
like
no. They
adults?
were no, they were actually. You had hall monitors. We hired
Oh,
people to
oh,
be.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
So
Yeah, yeah,
but you didn't know. So for example,
yeah.
one of my favorites was a big it was kind of an administrator in a hospital. He was a head of the what do you call it? Oh God, the dialysis unit in the hospital. Okay,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But he's looking to make extra bucks, and he's got
Yeah.
kids through college and stuff. So anyway, uh, but in this woman's school, the administrators don't seem to care about that. And consequently, kids are kind of unruly in the hallways and
Oh.
stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then she said, I'm doing what I know you did in your classes and you taught us all to do, which is to be out in the hallway greeting
Yeah.
students. number
Yeah.
one. And
Yeah.
then when I go in, if you remember, I used to go in and I say, "Good morning, class." And as a group, you all were supposed to say, "Good morning,
Rainy
Captain Willie," or "Good
or
morning,
Mr.
Captain
Schiavo.
S,"
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
you and it took a couple of days to get you guys into the rhythm. And I used to
Get you in
explain.
order.
Yeah, and I said the reason why I started doing that because again I wanted them to be polite, but
Mhm,
also I said,
mhm,
look, I'm doing plays, a lot of plays, especially in my when I was doing the Greek and Roman plays. I
mhm.
said, and you're going to have to be acting as a chorus, and I want you to
Mm,
get used to the idea. You're going to have to speak
mhm,
together. And you
mhm.
read the lines and speak them out together. So
Yeah.
I had a dual goal
Yeah.
there. The dual goal
Yeah.
was
And
was to
that's also etiquette too.
yeah, well, that's my point.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, if I walked in because let's say I just had broken up a fight or I was in the principal's office talking about policy or something, and I
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
a minute late, which by the way, I mean, I was always out there at the right at the, on the
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I was in any way, kind of just agitated, and I went in and didn't say good morning, class, they'd be, "What do you mean you didn't say good morning,
Yeah.
Captain
Because
Willie? What's up?"
then they're gonna
And I said,
think that
"Oh,
something's
okay."
wrong,
And I
right?
go, "Yeah, yeah." So I said, "Well, good morning, class." And they go, "Good morning, Captain S." Whatever.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and that was great. Anyway, she was having trouble getting them to do that, and they were giving her.
Oh.
Plus, she said they were allowed to curse in the classroom, and I went, "Are you kidding me?"
Oh no.
Yeah, the previous teachers were allowing them to curse and just be
How
unruly, and I said,
how
"Oh
can
no."
you allow that? That's like,
Because I'll tell you why. Because they were mediocre to god awful teachers that were taking
oh.
over her
Yeah, but
classes.
how
That's
can you
exactly why.
allow the kids to curse in class? That's like so disrespectful already.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, this is where I'm pretty hard on other teachers. I'm thinking this stuff is easy to stop, but they're not stopping it.
Mm,
And her thing was, I said, look, you're gonna have to go in there, and I
yeah.
know that this is not your style, but you may have to kind of really
Yeah.
be a little more, show a little anger, and say,
Oh.
they said, well, why do you want us to do this? I said, then well, it's what we're talking about. That you need to be better,
Yeah.
nicer people, more
Yeah.
sensitive, well-mannered people, and
Yeah.
stop acting like little jerks, okay? Because, and I say, you can say, you're acting like little jerks, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to tolerate it. And I
Well,
said,
it's funny when you say certain things. I think I start laughing just because like you're making a point, but then you also will say it in certain words that will just make me laugh, of making me a trigger of like paying attention, like, oh, he's serious now, you know?
yeah, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you what I used to always say, especially, I mean, I got my captain's license. I guess I was 33, 34. I've had it for a
Yeah.
long time.
Hmm.
So one of my lines, you may remember my saying this, when the kids got a little loud or whatever, I would say, "Hey, excuse," I said, "Me captain, you swabbies. I say jump, you say how high." You remember that? Remember my saying
I probably, I don't know. I have a terrible memory, so
that? Well, a lot of the and in fact, somebody that should remain nameless in the family was all upset when I said that.
really?
Yeah, one of her kids, and she just sort of she didn't
Oh, she got
realize that.
upset.
Yeah. But you know what? But my students wouldn't. So anyway, I kind of told her, I said, your job is to explain to them that not only do you teach them literature and vocabulary and stuff, you're supposed to try to teach them to be better, better,
Human
more,
beings,
be a
right?
better, more mature young people.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because if you don't, uh, you'll not do well getting jobs or in jobs.
Yeah.
It affects your life in adverse ways that you may not even understand or appreciate. And you're gonna do it. I'm the teacher. You're gonna have to listen to me, and nothing happens, nothing goes forward until you understand what my expectations are of you. And
Mhm.
I'm a different person. I'm a different teacher than who you
Yeah.
had, and
Yeah.
you have to uh,
You
kind
have
of
to
heed
draw the
my
line.
teaching.
You have to tell them like it is, really,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and I mean, my job as an adult, my job as a teacher,
Yeah.
is to say there are rules by which people can live, should live,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and and when you get older, you want to break them, break them. But guess
Yeah.
what? You're not doing it when you're in my classroom
Yeah.
or
You're not
you're in
doing it in
my
my
home.
class.
Or when you're in my home.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. This is the way it has to be.
Hmm.
Like with kids when they grow up, my feeling would be my father would kind of made it plain. Hey, you live the way you're in our house, in our home. You live the way we have raised you
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
if you can't and won't do it any longer, then you need, as soon as you're 18, feel free to go.
Yeah.
And my father loved me to death. He loved me
Yeah.
to that. But he also wanted you to know he was a gentle guy. But there's a point he goes, I will not tolerate you being disrespectful to your
Yeah.
mother,
Yeah.
who's my wife,
Yeah.
and you know what the rules are. You need to follow them. That's it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
closed. And I just think that going back to Will Smith, I think he did himself a humongous disservice
Yeah.
by people that will now view him in a
Differently.
absolutely differently. And I have to be honest with you, the majority view him negatively now, which is
Yeah.
a shame. It's a
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah.
So
It's sad. But yeah, I appreciate you stopping by my podcast today and talking about etiquette because it's definitely something very important. I feel like people need to learn. And it's something that I teach my kids every day to be polite and to, teach them how to treat their friends that even come over and do things. And,
sure.
so I think it's very important and I appreciate you. And thank you so much. And I can't wait to talk to you again.
Okay, always fun. Thank you so much. Take
Okay.
care.
Bye
Bye now.
bye.